Hey guys, and welcome back as we join right before the holidays on Let's Talk Cyber. With me, my name is Julia Lee, Senior Manager of the Education and Center of Excellence Unit here at Ontario Cybersecurity Division. An interesting topic that we have for you guys today that we are no stranger with is addressing the cyber talent gap. And with me today, I have Rushmi, who is the Director of Development and Accelerated Cybersecurity Training Programs at the Rogers Cybersecurity Catalyst at Ryerson University. You probably know Rushmi from speaking most recently at our second annual cybersecurity conference for the broader public sector, addressing the cyber workforce. We loved her so much, we asked her to come back and speak more on this topic today. We also have Shelley on the line, Business Development and Brand Ambassador at the SANS Institute. You probably know her as she's been around for more than a few years. In the past 25 years, spending her time in business development, training, and strategically building strong organizations. During her spare time, she even volunteers to promote cybersecurity awareness at the community level. So let's not keep you guys waiting and let's just jump into the discussions for today. Let's start with a few stats around cybersecurity. As we know, it's a booming industry. It's definitely facing a major talent gap as we are lacking in supply. Based on analysis done by the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity, the talent demand is actually increasing by 7% each year. And in the past year alone, we saw that there was a 3.5 million vacant cybersecurity positions worldwide. Definitely a global issue that we want to hone in, and hopefully by 2022, we've got the solutions to tackle it, starting from discussions from today. Business, governments, and academia, we've seen them take great strides in coming together to create more opportunities for young professionals to really step into the cybersecurity industry. For example, on my side, we've seen it from many secondary institutions from Ontario, creating more courses that's more focused on cybersecurity. But I'm sure Rushmi and Shelley today can tell us more about this. But knowing more about the skill gap in cybersecurity, we need to get more people interested in the industry. And one way to understand that is understanding the importance of cybersecurity. Shelley, what would you like to maybe share with the audience today on the importance of cybersecurity?
Well, cybersecurity, and thank you so much for having me on the discussion today, Julia. And it's always great to be with Rushmi on a panel. Appreciate her expertise and the value she's going to add throughout this afternoon. You know, cybersecurity is a big part of our world for everyone. I mean, you know, we all know about COVID, and most of us have new apps on our phone now that have personal information, and we are sharing that information. That brings into question cybersecurity. And we need people who can work on those systems. We need to understand them in our school systems. We're faced with that as we send, students home to learn, as we sent workers home to learn. Many of us have had the importance of cybersecurity raised because it's hit all of us in our personal lives, in our work lives, whether it's healthcare, finances, shopping, it's there. And we need to understand, how do we protect, the systems that we rely on daily from cyber attacks, both as users of those systems and as individuals that work in those systems. And training those individuals is ongoing and ever-changing. So, what you learned yesterday probably isn't going to be the same thing as early as tomorrow or next week. So cybersecurity is moving. It's moving quickly, and it's really important that everybody understands the importance of cybersecurity and educating people in the world of cybersecurity.
That's right. I couldn't agree more in terms of getting people interested in cybersecurity. I'll open up to Rushmi on this point.
First, thank you, Julia, for the invitation to be here. And Shelley, it's always a joy to you and I to banter back and forth, and now we get to have Julia part of it. So this is going to be a fun conversation. Everything that Shelley said, definitely on every part of our life is touched by cybersecurity because we use systems, right? We're a digital society, digital communities, digital workforce. We are digital in commerce, digital government. So any aspect of life that is digitized has the added layer of threats, vulnerabilities that are created. So I think we now have, a greater threat vector that we are looking at from the lens in cybersecurity, we're looking at what are the areas that are most vulnerable to us. Well, what are the areas that we don't even know that are vulnerable yet? We see it in national attacks, on our supply chains. We've seen it with power grids, and hospital systems in Canada. And you start to go, this is getting right into my everyday life. And the more that we start to talk about the challenges, the issues, what we're doing is we're actually demystifying this word cyber and security that is clouded in darkness, because now we're looking at the impact is not in darkness. The impact is very much in full color in our lives. And there's now spotlights being shown where the vulnerabilities are. So I think one of the biggest challenges that the industry has is that we need to demystify it. It's been considered a place for people sitting in, their basements, the hoodie mentality. And we all talk about this, we hear this, but we need to now also from academia. It's either cybersecurity was the person in the basement, or it's for academics who are really great at mathematics and mathematical problems. But it's those two, but it's really the in-between phase that we need to show people where cyber fits in and how we can create opportunities in cybersecurity as career options to defend our digital world, our digital economy, and because it takes everyday people to think of the solutions. So we need to draw individuals into the industry now.
Yeah, it's such an important point that you hit on there, Rushmi, in terms, especially now that we are in the corner of around the holidays and the new year. It's more important than ever that cyber criminals use this as prime time, right? To get into your inboxes, to get into your text messages, to bait you for something that might be going on sale, but it's actually indeed a phishing attempt to hack you. So education and awareness, like to Shelley's point, is greater need more than ever, especially this time, to remind people not just to reset your passwords for the new year, but also to revisit and make sure that you're double and triple checking before you click on anything.
Well, and in understanding in that education means everyone, from the very young to those who are aging, who are, now looking at having to do online banking because a lot of the banks reached out to them and said, hey, this is how you have to do it, to having to use the Arrive Can app if you're traveling. And that's a lot of our seniors. And so I think when we look at who needs to be educated in cybersecurity, we have to remember it's everyone. It's not just, the young that we're trying to capture, it's everyone in protecting them.
Cybersecurity, it's everyone's responsibility. That's it.
It really is. And, I think the more that we start to see unfortunate incidents happening, but the importance of media in putting those incidents top of mind in the news, creating the awareness. I think that it's not a fear mentality, but it's an awareness, a vigilance mentality that we need to see happen. So the companies that are being bold enough that where they do report that there's been a breach, or that, the hospitals, as they try to mitigate and we see the impact, I think, where the media can help us, it really is part of awareness, is to show that this is a real challenge now for all of us. And we are looking for society to help protect one another. And we need to bring in more individuals into the industry to be the first line of defense.
That's right, bringing them back into the first line of defense. I know many people in the call, and I don't know about you guys, but you probably get this question asked on probably a daily in terms of what are the different ways we can get into cybersecurity, especially with people who don't particularly have a cybersecurity background. There's definitely, some type of reaction that you get in terms of, oh, Ontario cybersecurity team, what do you guys do? And are you guys, full of cybersecurity specialists in hoodies, kind of, hacking away or working on, making sure you don't do this or don't do that. So I'll open it up to you guys to share your thoughts on maybe some advice that you've been giving to folks.
Well, I can start. I think getting and understanding cybersecurity and learning, I think it starts at home. I think it's, I think you look for ways for everybody to participate. At SANS, we have the holiday hack, which is really, really popular with those that know cybersecurity. But I push it out, like I push it out to school teachers in my community and to other communities, because, you know, your 10-year-old can play the Sans holiday hack. They may not get as far in the game, or maybe they will, but it gets them thinking and understanding and being involved in cybersecurity. It gets them to start to understand what a career may look like, and maybe if they would like that career. And so for individuals who are wanting to, you know, I always, you know, make sure that when parents are saying, oh, they spend so much time in front of that computer, I wish they'd get off of it. I'm like, no, you need to turn that into something positive. Find out what it is they like doing on that computer and turn it into a learning opportunity. And there's lots of different ways. There's like coding, there's coding camps, there's like the holiday hack fest. There's just so many different areas that they can get into at a very young age, that are low cost or no cost, and getting them involved, which also then brings in your education system, brings in your parents, your grandparents, all those individuals for learning. Sans, you know, we have academies that individuals can attend. We have various academies, women's academies, veterans academies, new to cyber academies that we encourage people to apply, participate, get involved. There's a lot of local associations, ISACA, ISSA, ISC squared, that offer opportunities for learning and training, different, some of them at different age levels, some of them to different organizations, even within a community. So the access to training, and I'm going to let Rushmi talk about her program, it's there. It's a matter of getting enough individuals involved in all the many opportunities that are out there and letting them know that it's a learning opportunity. And it's an opportunity for them to understand better cybersecurity, but also to be able to understand if this is a vocation that others should be pursuing as they play in it.
That is so true. It's all about creating a interest and finding out, do you have an interest, and exploring your interest in a career in cybersecurity. So once you've explored the many ways that Shelley's just shared, and you say, yes, I have an interest, but I don't have a technical background, there's now new programming that's coming in, especially designed for individuals with no technical background, who you don't have to be a network engineer or coming from, IT, but it's great if you do. Absolutely. Wholeheartedly, we encourage, the IT, operational IT folks to make that transition into cyber. But what we've done at the Rogers Cybersecurity Catalyst is we've launched a program called the Accelerated Cybersecurity Training Program, affectionately known as ACTP, because if I had to say Accelerated Cybersecurity Training Program throughout this entire event, everybody would tune out. So I'm just going to refer to it as ACTP. And it's a program for rapid workforce development, but it's really designed to address the skill shortage in cybersecurity and pivot individuals from other careers into a career into cybersecurity. So we're looking for the chef who has a demonstrated interest in cyber. We're looking for the school teacher who wants to now pivot from being an English major into cybersecurity. The engineers, the accountants. It's amazing, right? Like, that's one thing that cybersecurity does really well, is that we seek individuals who have an aptitude for problem solving, an aptitude for communicating, an aptitude for just being able to have great instincts, but want to be able to back those instincts and problem solving with data. So that's the advantage of programs that we've developed. And our program, the foundational value of this value of our program, is to increase diversity and inclusion and lower the barriers of entry into the profession. So we talked about, right, addressing the challenges of the industry and changing the way that it's viewed. So we want to bring diversity. And the program seeks individuals who have a real demonstrated interest in cyber, have little or no technical cyber experience, and individuals who are from demographics that are traditionally not represented in cybersecurity across the country and, frankly, around the world. Our program is 28 weeks in length, and this is what's neat about the program. In 28 weeks, we've designed this program in partnership with SANS. Thank you, Shelley and the team at SANS for that partnership. And what we've done is, in this short period of time, have individuals go through this incredible training, earn 3-actor GX certification, so that micro credentials that validate to employers that, yeah, I know what skills you've got. And I know that you have other skills coming from a different profession. And now with the 3 micro credentials from GX, these are students, are graduates, within 6 months of graduation, are finding employment across all industries across the country. And so there are, I think, where you need to look for programming that fits what you're looking for. What kind of a career do you want? You know, we're really focused on protect and defend as the career outcome from our training program with the 3 micro credentials. So really look through and say, am I in governance? Is that an area that, and there could be programming that leads you to governance. Is it risk and risk mitigation that I'm interested in? There are programs for that. Pen testing follows the path into protect and defend. And that seems to be a very popular place for people. So really spend your time looking at where is it that I want to be and what kind of programs are there that I could want that serve that purpose, and what are the lengths of those programs, what is the cost, and take your time. But if you have that true demonstrated interest, cybersecurity is welcoming and needs people with diverse backgrounds and skills.
Yeah, of course, and thanks, Rushmi, for sharing the great program there. Looks like both the SANS Institute and the Catalyst has got a program for almost everybody. But at the Ontario government, since summer of 2020, inclusion, diversity, that's definitely at the forefront. That's definitely our priority here. And we ensure that we've reached out to majority of post-secondary schools across the province, as well as tapping into master programs to allow people to have hands-on training and opportunities as part of their co-op placements. And we've got a diverse team here, from an ethical hacking team to a secure solutions design. We've got an education and awareness team, a center of excellence that was built for the first time, as well as a 24/7 cybersecurity operations center. So the top opportunities are there. And I think what we're trying to say here to our audience today is take on those opportunities that, you know, organizations and companies out there, we hear you loud and clear. There's definitely a need for cyber talent, and we're trying to fill a gap and trying to address those needs. I don't know, Shelley, if there's anything.
Yeah, I can say that most, if not all, companies that I work with and talk to on a regular basis are putting together programs to address new to cyber and diversity and inclusion in the workplace when it comes to cyber. I'm not familiar with, I don't know any workplace that isn't doing that today. And it is, you know, I understand the individual that maybe worked in the workplace on the housekeeping team, maybe, or the, you know, the front desk, just saying hello to people, doing administrative stuff. It's a bit intimidating to put up your hand and say, pick me. But I think it's important that we start to, number one, remember to ask those individuals to have that exploratory conversation, but also to encourage them to speak up and to seek to be included in part of those, you know, learnings that they're creating at the workplace and learning opportunities that they're giving to others. It's, you know, like I look at Ryerson's program that they have with the Rogers Catalyst, and that is such a great program. It's almost too good to be true. And I think sometimes that stops people like, no, that can't really be true. I'm not going to get all that and just apply. And if I get picked, I get to show up. It's like, no, that is how it works. That is because we need people in cybersecurity. So looking at those programs and I remember talking to a gentleman in Seattle, and he was a fairly new to the Seattle area and was wanting to get into cybersecurity. And so he was telling me about all this training he was doing and the cost of it all. And I said, well, where do you want to work? And he said, well, I'd probably like to go work at Microsoft. And I said, well, why don't you just go talk to them? You know, find somebody at Microsoft, talk to them and see if they would be interested. And so I said, you know, give me your contact information. I'll see if I can do an introduction for you if you're open to having a conversation. They ended up taking him and training him. And so you really, if you've got places where you want to work and you want to work in that industry, I know, government, whether it be Ontario government, Alberta government, or the federal government, it's difficult for them to hire, even from within, women, new to Canada, inclusion and diversity in the cybersecurity space. People just aren't applying. So if you know those folks, really encourage them to take that step forward and to seek, because there's so much opportunity there for training and growth, career growth.
Yeah, definitely. And we can see there's this growing challenge here. And this could probably be one of the main reasons why we're having this challenge. And there's a prediction by 2025, actually, that there's going to be another 3.5 million unfilled cybersecurity jobs, which sounds really daunting, but it could be based from Shelley's point here of people not taking that step forward to take all those opportunities, whether it's just a first engagement of a chat just to see what it's like in their daily lives, to getting that job opportunity down the line to see what experiences you'll need. But yeah, Shelley, based on your background, I know you work with individuals, you work with corporations, government agencies, and associations to understand the training needs for the cybersecurity workforce. But in your opinion, how does one succeed in cybersecurity?
Well, I always say success is measured by an individual and what that looks like. But for the most part, if you're going to work in cybersecurity or probably any career, you've got to be curious and you've got to want to know what's happening today. You've got to be reading journals. You've got to be checking into, SANS has free resources, free webcasts every single day. You've got to be listening to those. You've got to be, I get on LinkedIn and I link in and chat with people that are doing something that I'm interested in, whether it be cybersecurity, whether it be developing others, and having conversations with them to find out what's new, what are they doing, what are they hearing. Whenever you hear about the latest news in the industry, you look in communities where tech companies are moving into, in Calgary, Alberta, we have a lot of new tech companies coming to Calgary. Understand those companies. Who are they? What are they doing? What kind of skills are they looking to hire for? Just as we need people new in the cybersecurity world, we also are at risk with those in middle to advanced sector in the cybersecurity world as well, because there's a higher need for those individuals. And so this morning I had a conversation with an organization, and they've got the new, the advanced, and then the emerging. And I'm like, oh, emerging. They're like, yeah, those are those people that are already advanced, but there's new areas in cyber that become more focused on. And so we really need them to be more educated and currently educated in what's happening in cyber threat intelligence, for example. I thought that's interesting. Now they're just honing into the skill sets, even as far as where that training needs to go in their industry. So, curiosity is always a good thing in cybersecurity. Curiosity, reach out, talk to people, look at who's doing different programs, whether it's online, graduate programs, universities, colleges. There's lots of options for people, and associations. Get involved. If you want to be successful and grow and stay knowledgeable, there's lots of opportunities for you to be learning ongoing. This is not an area where when you're done schooling, you're done. This is a for life thing. It's just like every time you get a new cell phone, it's like, oh my gosh, now I got to learn the whole system again. Same ideal, except for faster, if this is your job every day.
All said. And in terms of maybe some tips for someone who might be starting out on their cybersecurity journey, Rushmi, can you maybe shed some light on that?
I think actually, Shelley, first of all, I loved your answer on all fronts, because you can't measure success any other way but at the individual level. But as individuals start their career, you're going into that. What's my 30-day, 60-day, 90 days, 1 year look like? It is what Shelley said. The curiosity needs to stay. So curiosity is, you got to keep that up. Always be learning, upskill yourself. Just because you've graduated from a program, you have 3 great micro credentials with you. When are you doing the next one? Like, what is the next one? How's that going to impact you? But what is the benefit to the company? So stay curious, curiosity, and communication. Cybersecurity is not an isolated career. If you're somebody who likes to connect with others, problem solve with others, be in a room to have discourse about information that you're seeing or information somebody else is seeing, it is a connection. The career is all about connecting bits and pieces of information and connecting to those individuals. So work on your communication skills, work on your team skills, work on the ability to elevate those skill sets, and then work on your confidence. This sounds so interesting and different piece of advice, but in cybersecurity, it's the rapidness of seeing a threat and the ability to quickly discern that this is a threat that's going to come to my organization and have the confidence to escalate it to where it needs to go. So it can have the attention that it needs. So many people are going to sit back and go, "Oh, I'm hesitant. Is this real? Is this really coming in? I see it. I know my training tells me, my instincts are telling me, and the data is telling me, but how am I going to communicate it? Am I going to be taken seriously?" Build your confidence and know that that is what you're there to do. So that confidence, the ability to speak up, knowing that you're backed by your knowledge, backed by your training, and and work on those plans, because cybersecurity is really about information coming in and your ability to communicate it back out and how you use it, and work on your instincts. Instincts come from practice, right? We all say, "Oh, that person has such great instincts in cyber." How do they build it? Well, that comes from practice. So practice your skill, practice your ability to work within the data, practice your ability to go and sit in another group when you start and you kind of say, "Can I shadow this other group when I'm not working in my actual SOC? I want to go and work in the threat detail area and just shadow them," because then you're honing your skill, your craft in cyber. And that's where your good instincts come from. And there's studies being done right now that individuals who spend time actually recognizing that they need to see more and more in cybersecurity, and they're constantly practicing, they can detect a threat faster than an EDR. And we pay millions and millions of dollars for these solutions, to come into our organization. And now we have individuals who can detect something faster than one of these new SIMs that are coming into the SOC. And you go, "Oh, that's just instinct." That's not instinct. So work on these core skills for yourself over your 30, 60, 90 days, and you will become an invaluable cyber professional and upskill. To Shelley's point, upskill all the time. This technology changes, threats change. Stay up to date.
The other thing I could add, I appreciate what Rushmi said about communication. So recently, two things happened. Recently, there was an organization that I worked with, and they wanted to do net wars to bring their teams together, all their people together, and play a game. So they purchased the net wars from SANS. We set them all up to go. And the feedback was like, "Holy smokes, where did this person come from? She's so smart. We didn't even know that. We didn't even know she could do all that stuff." So here's someone in the workplace who got her work done all the time, quiet worker, not a big communicator on the team, not definitely, they said, not an extrovert, but so talented. And so the employer was able to find these talented people that they could actually take and nurture and give more to as a result of the networks. And I thought, wasn't that clever? So, I challenge employers to also set themselves up so that they can find these individuals, because this young gal on the team would have never put her hand up to say, "Pick me for growth and development. Pick me to do that task." She came in at a level and everybody accepted that's where she was. And all of a sudden she just shone brightly. Another individual I know, he was invited to a Net Wars event. So he went. And then before I knew it, he told me he got a new job. And I said, "I didn't know you were looking for a new job." He says, "I wasn't. I went to a Net Wars event And I did so well, they called me up after the event to hire me. So, employers are also using that as a tool to find new employees. Number one, those who are already in the industry and maybe could fill in some of their more advanced or intermediate level cybersecurity specialists, but also to look for those new people that they can train and nurture within their community, within their programs or programs that they know that they can access. So, employers also have a role in figuring out who are those people in their organization and how do they set that up. I thought it was pretty cool that this gal just blew them all out of, she did so astonishingly well that they were like, what just happened? Like she was beating some of their advanced tech people in the net wars. It was great. It was just great. And the fact that she was female was even better for me. So yeah, definitely lots of ways to find talent and determine where talent is sitting. And so be interested in those opportunities. Even if you think you're not going to get very far in the game, participate anyway.
Yes. Yeah. Just one last piece adding to that, right? I think as you go out to these games and you're getting hired or in different places, really understand the business you're in. You're not in the business of cybersecurity. You are in the business of the industry that your organization has hired you. So if you're going into a large bank, you're now in the business of finance, and you have a very unique perspective. So understand the business first, connect it back to cybersecurity as it relates to that industry. Not all threats are equal. Not all areas of cyber within certain industries are equal. So take the time to really, when you are receiving that job offer or you're going into that interview and you're starting off new, actually it doesn't matter if you're starting off new or not, know that industry and understand what is important and what is their true threat vector look like.
Thanks very much, Rushmi. No, that's wonderful. And that's such a great story that you're sharing with us today, Shelley. But in terms of us motivating and inspiring folks to have a career in cybersecurity, it does sound like maybe perhaps Rushmi, you and Shelley didn't really have a rigid traditional method of getting to cybersecurity or where you are today. So I would be curious to know how you got into cybersecurity, Shelley.
Well, my background is nursing, social work, public policy, business development, and I was approached by SANS to work in cybersecurity. And when they first approached me, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then they said, well, look at our website, come to a conference. So I went there and I'm like, I still don't know what you're talking about. All that language was so foreign to me. And they're like, no, we think you're a good fit because you're a great communicator and you're passionate about development of individuals and learning. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna believe in you because I don't know where I'm going with this. And so, 8 years later, I'm still with SANS. I love the industry. I love seeing the growth that's happened in the industry. There's certainly more opportunities for training. Lots of different organizations that do training. There's, a lot of chapters of different, volunteer organizations that do things. There's so many different conferences now that you can go to, and it's a growing industry. So for me, my passion was this is a gap and an opportunity in our communities, in our workplaces, and we've got to fill it. And interestingly enough, when I went to school, my guidance counselor was not talking about cybersecurity. I would unfortunately guess today that there are still children going to school where their guidance counselor is not talking about cybersecurity. So for me to be in this field is because I know it's important to us and our future, for our security, for my security, for where we're going. We know technology and robots and self-driving vehicles and all those things, those are going to come to be. And I want there to be a skilled workforce. I want there to be an educated public when we bring all those things together. So that's my passion. That's where I fit in with SANS when I'm working with my customers on a regular basis. It's how do we educate your workforce? How do we make sure people have what they need to make your industry and what you provide successful? And it's like lots of blue out of the box thinking, and I love it. I mean, I loved when I was working with Rushmi when we were getting the catalyst started. That was like new energy, first of its kind, exciting. That's what I love to do. And cybersecurity is all about that. This industry is growing, and there's so many things we haven't even done yet that are coming.
So to say, it's so wonderful to see, especially females in cybersecurity, talking about your passion and the impacts you're having in cybersecurity. And for myself, I had a background, very much not a traditional method of policy. Anyone who works or has a background in public policy, you're there to make an impact. That's the end goal. And cybersecurity kind of stumbled upon me where I reached out to the cybersecurity team here when it was a small team of just 40 people, just wondering, what do you guys do? How are you guys protecting Ontario? And from there, those coffee chats led me to some really great career opportunities. That was then where I was considered, because of my communication skills and my policy background that I brought to the table. At that time, cybersecurity branch was a small and mighty team, but we didn't really have a communications or an education team. And now I think that that's definitely at the forefront of every organization or every government organization, really. But I'll pass it over to Rushmi on how you got into cybersecurity.
Equally as diverse as both of your pathways in. I've always been in ed tech, education and technology, merging them together, starting up schools way back far away, a long time ago when Microsoft systems engineers were taking off, started the first schools in Ontario, and just building from there and just always working on demand, right? What is the employer demand and what are the gaps that employers are seeing, and connecting people back through education. Then launched off into my own entrepreneurial journey. And one of those journeys was a talent acquisition firm focused on cybersecurity. And this was around when cybersecurity was just, it wasn't called cyber yet. We had security engineers. We were seeing the first of its kind with the Pan Am Games coming to Toronto, and an organization in Toronto had just won the first managed SOC business that had been seen across the country. And it just spurred this entire focus on, we need individuals with security. So I was at the forefront of that with my company, and we just really got to know cyber from an intimate point of view as we were exposed to various threats and how did we look for talent, development of talent. And then I had the great fortune of coming across to the Catalyst, just at the inception of the Catalyst, and then getting to really decide what are the values that we wanted to have at the Catalyst when it came to addressing workforce development. Ryerson, by its very nature, is disruptive, right? We are disruptive as a university. We get to try new things, new pathways for careers and development of talent. And then, connecting with Shelley and the team at SANS to say, I've got this idea. Is this going to work? And we kept on fine tuning it together and working on it until this program has become a standard for the country. So I'm really proud that my pathway has been different coming here, but it's also very rewarding because it's still filling the talent pipeline. It's changing people's lives on many ways, right? It's the individual who comes through the program and graduates that fulfills me when I see that, their new jobs or their new careers, and then knowing that the organizations have this new first line of defense. So it's very fulfilling.
That's wonderful. I think my last question for today is, I know we're running a bit short on time, is what's your prediction for cybersecurity, or what do you see cybersecurity in the future? Maybe we'll start with you, Shelley.
I think cybersecurity is one of those industries that's not predictable just because of where it came from and where it's going to take us and what we're going to do next. If you talk to, my grandparents, they never visioned some of the things that are happening today. If you talk to me, there are some things that I never thought were going to happen. And, there's still people that think we're not going to have self-driving cars. And we're not going to be able to be in Vancouver and be doing surgery in Toronto. And it's like, yeah, those days are coming. That's exactly what we're going to be able to do. And so I think, when you talk cybersecurity, I say stay tuned. But I also say to those individuals who are interested in cybersecurity, you have to speak up. You have to let others know that you're interested. You have to, CyberX is having a Women in Cyber conference in March. You have to attend. You have to show up. You have to say, I want to hear about this at that conference in March, or I want to be a speaker on that panel, or I want to present this as a topic. Be someone who's a disruptor, and make the world, make the community see us and cybersecurity differently and for where it's going to take us. Because it's impacting, it's our whole lives everywhere. And so for me, cybersecurity is our future. It's going to be in our future, and it can take us in a lot of different directions. And so the importance of policy around privacy and cybersecurity, training, workforce development, career development, all those things become very important on how we do them today is going to impact our future. When I think about not having a program like the Rogers Cyber Career Catalyst, that puts shivers down my spine, because I know they're training 20, 40, 60, 80, hundreds of people on an ongoing basis to put them into the industry. If they weren't doing that, being part of that change and leaving a mark, that's that many more people that we don't have trained. That's that many more people that don't have great paying jobs. Cybersecurity tends to pay very well as well. And so cybersecurity is a bright future, and we need to keep our eye on it.
Wonderful. Rushmi?
I think the faster that technology evolves, the new solutions in cyber and the demands on cyber increase. So, we all hear 5G. What does that really mean? It means instantaneous capabilities in computing. So how do you do instantaneous cyber threat detection now? Changes the whole vector of the industry. We look at new inventions that are coming out with cryptocurrencies, and now municipalities around the world are adopting it. Nations are adopting it. So we've got to make sure that our most vulnerable of our finances are protected. And how do you do that? Trends that are coming from, we have threat actors that are organized crime, but now we have new threat actors that are organized countries. And how do we address geopolitics when we're trying to protect our countries and our IP? So, cybersecurity, the opportunities are no longer just the network security. We're starting to really expand out, and it's coming through on knowing what the technology trends are and being able to be predictive. That's always hard, but you got to stay, the predictiveness of a technology is going to change. So can you be at that forefront in the cyber teams? Looking at geopolitics, they've never played such a big role as they do now in cyber. Even organized crime and the one-off criminal, the 17-year-old who can bring down the entire network is now also your threat. So how do so the future of cybersecurity is all about predicting the future with the technology companies, being invited to the table when new inventions are happening, right? And making sure that we've got cyber teams sitting there and saying, I'm listening, I hear what you're doing, I need to be part of this to protect the development of these technologies that are there to improve and enable better change for the society. So I think it's learning to make sure cybersecurity is put part of innovation now.
No, you guys both nailed it in terms of the predictions there. As part of our daily jobs is, like to Rushmi's point, of predicting the future, getting ahead of the cyber criminals, getting ahead of what the newest or latest cyber trends will be. But I think my quick prediction in terms of what the future for cybersecurity looks like is through many of these discussions like we have here today, we can see that there's an increase of young professionals reaching out, especially with technology. It's become more readily available and accessible for them to reach out to professionals in this field to get a glimpse of what they do on a day-to-day basis, but also to get their foot in the door or just to kind of explore a career within cybersecurity or within IT. So I hope and I do predict that we do have an increase of young professionals coming on board so we can close the cyber talent gap as much as we can to this point, and organizations and all levels of government coming together to tackle this problem in 2022 more than ever in previous years. All right, on that note, I'm going to thank Shelley and Rushmi today for joining us and sharing your insights, your experiences, and your stories. But I'm going to redirect us now to the Q&A. I see a lot of questions coming through from our audience today, and we'll get right to it. All right, so our first question is, are there any programs that the Catalyst runs for seniors? And I think this one's targeted right to Rushmi.
So we don't have programs that, okay, there's programs to protect seniors. We have great resources, and you can find them on our website at cybersecuritycatalyst.ca. And there's a section on the website that has a list of resources that you can tap into for seniors. But if you are somebody who is a senior looking for a career change, our I won't say oldest, but our most senior individual who's graduated from our program is 70 years old and employed. So
wow.
You can learn and start a new career at any time in your life. And that's what makes me excited about cybersecurity.
How do we get him or her on the show?
I know, right? I know.
We'll
do that. We'll track them down.
SANS also has some opportunities for learning. I mean, if someone's interested in cybersecurity and just learning more about it, I mean, we certainly have a lot of free webcasts. Just go to sans.org website and look at the webcasts and look at areas that you're interested in. And we also have what we call the Ouch newsletter, which is security awareness. And so it's very, I'm going to say general language so that most individuals can understand it, used by a lot of our organizations to train and bring awareness to the entire workforce, regardless of what department they work in. But they certainly have some other opportunities for learning at SANS if you go to the SANS website as well.
Great, thanks, Shelley. All right, on to our next question. What are the main causes of cybersecurity gaps?
Do you want to start, Shelley, on this one?
You can start.
Where do we start with this one?
I'll start.
Rushmi.
So gaps in any industry, and in cyber specifically, is showing up as individuals. It's just the demand, right? It's not because we're not seeing enough people, that the pipeline is not being filled fast enough, because the demand from employers is increasing. And so that demand is coming from change in technology, the requirements that are coming up in policy and governance and in all of the offshoots of core cyber. So, and then people are moving up, right? We're trying to create talent pipelines within an organization to move people further into the organization, to deepen their knowledge, increase their abilities to react, to create solutions. Then you leave this vacancy pool, right? And now you got to fill that vacancy pool again. And so it's this constant pipeline that's being filled because the demands are increasing on cyber organizations, on cyber teams across all industries. Whether it's a small, medium business and they have 2 cyber people, they're now going to need 3. We're seeing it in large financial institutions. So it's just coming from the demands on the industries are increasing more, and we just can't keep up.
Yeah, and I can add to that. You know, I quite often will say, you know, cybersecurity and that security department, they're kind of like the people with the sore back. So if you have a sore back, no one really notices. They hear about it, but they don't really notice. You look fine, you show up for work every day. If you break your leg, or the windows get broken at your workplace, or the computers get stolen, the organization has to respond right away. When it comes to your security teams, sometimes there's a gap in them being able to get funded to be able to access the training that they need to stay ahead of the curve or with the curve. And that's very real. I mean, I talk to some individuals and I ask them, where do you get your security training? And they tell me they do lunch and learns and they bring in a volunteer and that's their security training. That's scary. That was a hospital I was talking to. Sore back, right? Got a sore back. Everybody says, gee, that's too bad, but no one's going to do anything about it. So that creates a gap in ability for people to keep up and maintain. That makes people who are good in security and want more move around in their jobs. So it's harder to retain those people. And so there's lots of different reasons for the gap that happen. Demand is big, but also our ability and, your board, your leadership's ability to see what do you need to do to address those gaps. Hiring somebody isn't the answer because they will need ongoing training or you create another gap.
For sure. And in risk of me sounding too cliche coming from government, funding is definitely the forefront. Lack of funding can be the result of, a gap in cybersecurity, like around just bringing on actual cybersecurity specialists to be speaking about the latest tips and advice to staff, to employees, or even creating training education modules or even programs specifically for staff on cybersecurity. So there's definitely a great need on that. But our next question is targeted back to Rushmi on how do you assist students with choosing the right certification and issuing body?
So I would say it goes back to, in our program, it's 3 micro-credentials that are part of the program. So it's the GFACT, which is the foundations, GSEC, which is security essentials, and GCIH, which is certified incident handling. Aren't you impressed, Shelley? I know them now. But, these 3 are that the detection, threat detection, response, and it falls under that protect and defend category. So come to an info session. We host info sessions every week, twice a week. You'll find it on our website under events, and come and hear about the different areas within cybersecurity that falls under protect and defend, and why these 3 certifications bundled together get your career started. And if you don't, if you're looking at protect and defend, go to NIST and look at the NIST framework, NIST.org, and look at their framework, and you'll understand what protect and defend really means. And you will start to see governance, you'll start to see risk, and there's policy, and they've got this lovely framework that you can go, oh, this one particular area is calling to me for whatever reason, and then go do a deep dive into that area, find out what jobs fall under it, jump onto LinkedIn jobs, start to see what the roles are that fall under one of the categories that is of interest, and then NIST maps it back to certifications and training. And you'll see GAC certifications and SANS associated courses listed next to it. So it really gives you an opportunity to say, is this the right place for me? Create a pathway for yourself, but go to the NIST framework and start from there. And that's what we do in our info sessions, is we show that and then help individuals to create that pathway.
That's great. Shelley, how does the SANS Institute, or for your area, to ensure that there's top quality instructors are available to teach your courses? Do you put your instructors down to the test and put them in special programming?
Well, our instructors, in order to be an instructor at SANS, you need to work full-time in the industry. So the instructors at SANS do not work for SANS. They work with SANS. They are also the authors of our courses. So they have, and they're held to very high standards. They are marked every day that they're in the classroom. So just imagine going to work every day and having your peers mark you. And if you don't get a mark higher than 4.5 out of 5, your boss is calling you. So it's really hard because those instructors that we have at SANS tend to be in high demand in all the other work that they do outside of SANS or teaching or adding to our curriculum. And so it is hard to keep, we have customers that call us and say, I'd like to have a 504 class at my company in the next 2 weeks. And I have to say, oh yeah, we don't have anybody available to teach that in the next 2 weeks, because they're busy. There is a high demand in the industry for them, and they have a lot of things to occupy their time and a lot of demand. And so it's something we strive to, to always be prepared to have instructors at the right place at the right time, but they have to be working in the industry full time. They do not work for SANS full time. They work in the industries full time. So we have some of them that are, that are CISOs working in workplaces. Some of them that work as consultants, some of them who work in law enforcement, some of them who work for government. They have jobs outside of being a SANS instructor. So that's what makes us unique. That's what makes us different. And our instructors also write all of our curriculum, and our curriculum is always being updated. So it's not easy. And I am always awed at the knowledge, the energy, the curiosity, and the creativity of a SANS instructor.
If there's some of the best trainers I've had the pleasure of working with in my career.
Yeah, they are just like, I get in front of them sometimes and I'm just like, I'm awed by them, and I'm not even in the industry. And when you hear students who are taking the courses, they are just so happy that someone has made it easier for them to understand, because they're always working in and talking about the same things that you're hearing in the news today. They're talking about, some of them have been part of helping them solve some of those issues and some of those situations. And so they're very inspiring to listen to. They are, it's not like a regular teacher. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I agree. We recently partnered up with the SANS Institute as well on creating and bringing together executives from hospitals in Ontario to come together on a crisis management workshop in collaboration with the Catalyst as well. And I couldn't agree more. Dumbing down the information, really putting it into real life scenarios of what could potentially happen to our network, and especially to our hospitals that we, so rely on, especially for this day and age. All right, yeah. So we've got a few more questions to tackle, ladies. One of the last few is, what's the impact of the cyber talent shortage? Other than, I guess, diversifying skills, I guess, within a workplace and especially within cybersecurity and bringing in new ideas, what other impacts would you see caused by the shortage?
The recent attacks in New Brunswick on the hospital is, they... skill shortage in the province. It's technology, but it is, people are exhausted, right? This is
burnout.
An individual. Yeah. It's burnout. It's not having the right backup individuals. It's not to say that is it caused by underskilled individuals or, but there is something to be investigated there around, did the team burn out? Could they have seen it sooner? And, I don't want to blame it on the people, but it is a true factor of threats. This is why we need more people, is because the burnout is so high. We have operations centers, Arctic Wolf, East Sentire, Herjavec Group, and they have quantity of individuals that are sitting there looking at these threats and the minutia of it, the day-to-day sometimes, and you need to have relief. Right? You need to have individuals coming in fresh and with fresh perspective. And when you're overworked, you will miss it. But that's what's great about these organizations. They know that because they are serving their clients. So they're always bringing in new talent and they're able to attract the talent. But if you're an organization such as a small hospital in Listwell, Ontario, or in, working for a small municipality in Meaford, and you are the IT person, the IT person, the security person, you are it. How could something's going to get by?
I one time had a CISO tell me from a small community, he said, Shelley, I got to be honest with you, I'm also the maintenance person. So, in those small communities, I mean, that can be where it happens, right? So you know, what can we do better to make sure they're protected and they're supported, because they may not have the people power to scale up and have this, you know, great security team, but maybe they need to work better together with other municipalities to create that. But we have to start, you know, problem solving that. Also problem solving as our workplaces evolve and we need fewer and fewer people to do what we used to do. What are we doing with all those people? They're not all going to go into cybersecurity. So there's a real shift happening in our workforce. And as we focus on, you know, putting people into cybersecurity, and here in Alberta, you know, oil and gas industry has really changed. We had a lot of talented people. They're not all going to stay in oil and gas in Alberta because the jobs just aren't there anymore. So what are we doing with those people to shift them to new industries, whether it be security or other places for jobs? Because our work world as a whole is also changing.
All right, so we've got just 2 more questions. I want to try to bundle those together and address the one where, are you seeing a demand in Ontario for more trainings in French as well as other languages? And maybe if I can pass it over to Rushmi and Shelley to speak more about if there's funding available for training. So the short answer to that is supporting French language education is definitely a top priority for our government, as it's really key to the development of the Francophone community. We talked about a diverse and inclusive workplace. That means creating a workplace that makes everyone feel included, involved in any sector or any line of business that you work in, and to support all areas of our workplace. Over to you, Rushmi, if there's any funding available for training for the CALA side.
So funding for training in overall. So we are funded as the Catalyst. Our founding members, RBC, Rogers Communications, Government of Canada, City of Brampton, have helped us to fund our training program. So this amazing 28-week training program is a $30,000 seat normally, fully funded by our great sponsors. And participants for our program paid the $500 registration fee. So when Shelley said too good to be true, this is investment coming from academia and industry and government working together to ensure that training is made accessible and we're lowering the barriers. So yes, on the training and the funding side. So if you are interested, please do apply for the June 2022 cohort. Applications are now open.
Great. Shelley, any funding from the SANS Institute?
SANS does a lot of sponsoring through our academies. We have some other opportunities. We do get scholarships out as well to individuals for learning. I always say, if you're interested in cybersecurity and you're willing to put yourself forward and put forward the efforts, there's always a way for you to get training. Always.
That's wonderful. On our side here, we've got free training for everyone who would like to take part on cybersecurityontario.ca, where you can access today about 10 modules, as well as keep up to date with the latest events. But on this note, I know we are over time today, and it's been my pleasure to host today's show and have this wonderful discussion as we address the talent gap globally, really, and address why cybersecurity is more important than ever. Thank you, Rushmi and Shelley. I know you've got a very busy schedule. Thank you for taking the time out today to especially share your insights, your passion, your experiences, and everything in terms of your stories and all that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julia.
Thank
great
you.
To see you. Thank you for having me here, and great to see you, Shelley.
Yes, great seeing you, Rushmi and Julia as well. Have a great holiday season to both of you. And I'm sure I'll be seeing more of you in 2022. Thanks. Thanks to all our listeners as well.
Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.